What is up, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in. This is CryptoVatsik. Before we get started, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button to support this channel. And if you find the content really helpful, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future updates. As always, this is not financial advice and are my opinions only. Let's get into it. All right, today I'm going to do a video on RSR and just give my thoughts on what we're seeing currently on a bit of a macro scale, and then we'll dive into what we're seeing on a lower time frame currently today. And there's been some excitement recently all over online about this one with the Mainnet launch. So yeah, things are getting interesting. We've seen some pretty cool price action recently off of our low. So we'll just get into what I'm seeing. Let's go. So before we get caught up on the lower time frames, okay, we're on the 12-hour right now. I just want to point out some key levels that I just want to be aware of at this point. Okay, so the first one is this dashed line here. Okay, sitting right around 1 cent and 0.011 area. Okay, and it was our previous base here back in March. And it's just obviously a psychological point, using simple SR theory that we had broken the support and now it's resistance, right? So that's one area that we haven't quite tapped at this point. And then if we just take that line back to what we had seen back in 2020, I believe, obviously this was a key area that we had to flip as well for this run to begin, right? So it was resistance, and then kind of chopped around here, and then came below, and then finally broke above it. Bullish retest, and that led up to the trend, obviously, but different environment, different timing of the market, so you can't quite expect the same result if we flip it. However, that is definitely a target from this base here, this previous breakdown of that level of demand to be resistance at this point now. And then further to that is this area up here in red, which we had basically as support for key support and resistance, but a key level, right, for multiple times over the past couple of years. So back in December 2020, we flipped it, and then it marked our bottom back in 2021. And then again, it marked some sort of temporary bottom in 2022 January until it was lost. And then until we had the bearish retest of it here in green, which we deviated slightly above, but I mean, can't take it with a grain of salt, right? And so bearish retest and obviously came back down and made new lows. Okay, so there's definitely supply up in these areas and heavy resistance that I don't think we'll just smash through a multi-year level right away and continue up, right? It's going to take some time to breach that. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to take out this lower high, this major lower high on the bear market coming down on a high time frame. Obviously, these are the levels that you want to flip, and eventually you will expect to head up. But if this is our area, if this is the beginning of our area of accumulation, hypothetically, accumulation takes a long time, you guys, okay? And so this has been since only May until now. If this is our bottom and people are getting that excited that this is coming up further and we're going to make new highs, then that would mean that this area in yellow is our area of accumulation, right? Which is a very short area. So, just with the longer accumulation takes, usually the more powerful the move, right? So you want to see a longer period of accumulation. So my reality to this, to bring us back down to reality, would be even if we flipped up here and came into this area of resistance, I would expect us to come back down within this yellow area again at some point in the future, later this year potentially, before essentially just lengthening this area of accumulation out longer, right? To really help build up the pressure and the buyers that we need for this buy volume to come back for the next bull run, right? And especially if Bitcoin's potentially not done making new lows, and same with Ethereum, then yeah, RSR with the excitement of Mainnet launch right now, you could see some nice pushes up, but it's just good to stay objective and realize that we're still in a downtrend and potentially starting our accumulation phase. But these things take time. So anyways, let's dive in further to what we're seeing closer up. Okay, so here we go. Let's just get rid of the yellow. That's what I had on there for the accumulation idea, but really it just lines up with this range that we had done, right? It's very similar to the rest of the market. We had our low and then our high, and just ultimately made this range that we were chopping around in. The EQ obviously many times as resistance and not many times as support, so still a lot of pressure to the downside. Supply still sitting up here in these areas, and then just really testing that overall demand near the lows, right? So what is different about this move than the previous moves, right? So it's really just comes back to that theory of market structure, you guys. Let's zoom in on the 4-hour to really dive into this a little closer. Okay. So these failed attempts, right, to break out of the range, right? You could have made some scalps on the way up for sure. But really, when we're looking at the top swing failure patterns, what we're looking for really is a continuation of those market structure breaks, right? Essentially a continuation of the trend, right? So making a new high with a bullish retest on the bullish order block. And so what we saw instead was we made these highs, okay? We had another high, except right here we had our bearish order block, right? This candle invalidated right there, okay? And so what did we see? We saw a break in market structure, okay? We made new lows, and then ultimately we just came and retested that area, that bearish order block with a bearish retest, okay? So that was your trigger to go short when we made that move. And the key here being that ultimate break of that low, right? So basically you can just imagine on a lower time frame, a range being in here where we broke down below that range, a couple bearish retests, and then came back and ultimately tested this bearish order block, which this candle was invalidated, and then had that break in market structure, right? So those are your triggers, so to speak. And then over here with this really choppy wick action over here, right? We definitely had those breaks and structures, bullish retests, okay, made a new high, came back down, retested those bullish order blocks or those levels, okay, and then made another high, came back down, but then failed here, okay? So we ultimately broke that market structure, made a new low, and then ultimately just bearish retest with these candles and wicks right up here, right? A trigger to get short or take risk off. So if you're looking to take a scalp in these areas, I wouldn't be looking for longs up here. I'd be waiting to look short, right? Because there's clearly supply up in this area. This overall area up here, especially with this wick that came right back down, this is heavy resistance up here, okay? So I wouldn't be looking for longs up here. I'd be looking for longs down in demand, right? Where are those breaks down on the lows? Right here, right? So we've got obviously demand near the range low. Okay, we've got these lows multiple times testing it. We make a low, this red candle gets invalidated. Let me zoom in a bit. Right here, right? So you've got your demand down here, you're at the range low, you've seen it being tested, you've seen this red candle right here. Okay, invalidated, so that is your bullish order block at the time. And then what did we do? We just broke that downtrend of lower highs, lower highs, lower high, okay, higher high, broke the market structure, bullish retest of that bullish order block. There's your entry, okay, there's your stop, and then target range EQ or range high, okay? And now what's different? What are we seeing now that's different about that, right? Well, we see a new high, okay, bullish order block, okay, this red candle invalidated, and then we saw a retest, right? So again, break in market structure, a new high and a retest, didn't quite get it down to the bullish order block, but a retest of that area, okay? And then again, same thing, made a new high, we had this break in market structure here, okay, made a new high and ultimately retested it, okay? So lots of chances on this move. It's very bullish, lots of chances to get long. And then now you'd see the same thing. Since price is fractal, you'd see the same thing on really low time frame. Let's just dive into 15 minutes here on what we're currently seeing. Okay, so right here, you'd see all this choppy action. You'd be waiting to see something like this, right? Where we make a higher high, break in that market structure from this previous high. Okay, we have our bullish order block right here. Red candle now, okay, and a retest, beautiful retest right there on that wick until we smash through and potentially now a flip of this area here, actually this overall resistance that created our ascending triangle, right? So flipped at that range, and obviously for now is acting as support. So, you see these same setups on low time frame as you do high time frame, since price is fractal, you guys. So again, we're on low time frame here. So it's always good to understand your perspective, right? That we're into resistance. Like I said, I don't necessarily want to be longing up in resistance. And even if it does go further, I want to wait for this key level to be flipped and just see that same structure. But I'd probably be waiting for more of a bullish consolidation area where we, take some more time to really consolidate before pushing up to the next areas of resistance. So something like this, maybe, come back down, have a bearish break in structure, come back down, retest the EQ, bullish break in market structure, come back up, and then regain this level with some bullish consolidation before potentially testing that first area of resistance in this dotted line. Something like that is what I'd be looking for. Just having a bit more patience on this one because we are coming right into resistance now. So a couple quick things I'll note though as well that you like to see is volume. Looks good. You don't want to see moves like this on low volume. You want to see moves like this with strong thick candles, and that's what we're seeing. So that's one thing that I do really like. The other thing is these moving averages, the EMAs 100 and 200 on a higher time frame. Okay, so let's go to 12-hour first, right? So on lower time frame, you'll see these get flipped more often, right? So on the 4-hour, we're above it, we're below, we're above, we're below, okay, but really on the high time frame is when you want to start to see us flip those EMAs, right? And we had not flipped them, we had not been above them on the 12-hour. Temporarily, you could argue, yes, definitely over the 100, just barely squeaked over the 200, but until since really we started this trend down, we hadn't traded above the 200. We had been above the 100 briefly. But really now we're seeing ourselves well above, creating that distance between the 200 EMA and the 100 as well, which we like to see, right? So you just want to see continuation of that on higher time frame. And what we're doing right now is we're just right at the 200 weekly exponential moving average. And yeah, we're pinched in between now the 100 and the 200. So that's exactly what I kind of thought we could see, is kind of getting some more pinching between these two, and then price compression before breaking above the 200 EMA on the daily, even though we are above it already on the 6-hour, the 12-hour. But really ultimately you want to see this sustained move. If this move is going to be sustained and we're going to test these areas, then you want to see those EMAs get flipped into support. In theory, they're not technically support, but they do act as those key levels of interest. And then just the other thing too is relative strength index is obviously coming in on the daily here into overbought territory. Last time we were in overbought territory was on April 1st, 2022, when we got swiftly rejected. So just another thing to note is that now we are again, since that point, in overbought territory on the daily, so on high time frame. So you could expect that relative strength to start to decline on the 12-hour as well in overbought territory. Okay, so just things to note as well. And the last thing I'll note too, which I thought was quite interesting, is the on balance volume. Quite strong. So you zoom out to the daily here. Very interesting that we're seeing this steady incline of on balance volume. So we saw a lot of volume up here during this bottom area that we had seen, and then now volume coming back, except price is really moving to the upside. But all the while, this steady incline of on balance volume here, which we're not seeing with a lot of other altcoins, and especially not seeing with Ethereum and Bitcoin. So just something that's interesting that you like to see, I guess, if you're bullish. But again, it's making a new high here, so just reason to believe that we could be coming into resistance and see a correction coming. So just stay objective and manage your risk. And then just finally, quickly, RSR versus the Bitcoin chart, right? We have obviously flipped this area into support, and looks like we might have flipped this area of resistance and support too, right? So market structure break here, retests, and continuously pushing up. So hopefully can hold this level in the near short term. Anyways, thanks for joining everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.